Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Hey, welcome to Geek Fruit Retcon, where we travel back in time to a previous episode from our inglorious history on the Geek Fruit Podcast. Happy listening, you nerds. Hey, welcome to Geek Fruit. I am Jishnu. I have Dinkar with me.
Hello.
I didn't ask you to say hello. Why?
I am so sorry.
That was just rude.
All right, let's start over.
Hi, I'm Jishnu. That's when you would interrupt me again. And now I'm relying on you to interrupt me.
I am so... Okay, fine. I'm just not as good a co-host as I...
See, we don't have Tejas with us today because he is down with the flu, as they call it.
An illness has befallen him.
It happens sometimes.
Yes.
So we apologize for that, for the lack of the menon. But,
Hello! Was that not my cue?
Damn it.
So, oh, man.
Son of a... So, anywho, today is all about the fact that the summer is over, and we had a bunch of great movies come out in the summer, and we just thought to ourselves, what is out right now in the month of September or late August? What is worth seeing? Not a whole lot.
Nope.
Not too much. There's some stuff coming out really soon at the end of the month, at the start of the fall season, that we're really excited about. But to sort of fill that void, a bunch of studios have put out DVD releases and Blu-ray releases of the summer movies, which we have indulged in rather rapidly, in that I saw Civil War the second it came out, making this my third viewing of it. And good news, it holds up just as well as it did the first two times. So that's great. But what we want to get into today, which we will do in just a little bit, is talking about the marketing for these movies post their release. We've talked a whole bunch about trailers and the build-up.
It seems to come up all the time.
It comes up more often than it should.
Yep.
We talk a lot about promoting movies before their release, the different kind of tactics they use, and some movies get 20 plus trailers. Luke Cage at the moment, I think, is got at least 6 or 7 trailers.
Yeah, I kind of lost count.
I've lost count and I've stopped watching. And
I'm still watching them, but they're not adding a lot.
Exactly. And so, so we've talked about why on earth would you make so many different posters, make so many different cuts, teasers, trailers, etc., etc. Today we're going to sort of flip it and talk about what happens after the fact. Once the movie is out and when the Blu-rays and home viewing platforms get released, what do? And they do this thing called deleted scenes and director's cuts. And so the question today is... Blooper reels, gag reels.
Yes.
The question is there any point to that? And do we enjoy them? Do we enjoy them at all, or are they just fluff?
Well, you watch all of them.
True.
And they're pretty exciting. So deleted scenes started when? Around the DVD era? I don't think it was a thing before that.
I don't think the VHS could handle a deleted scene on top of a movie.
You could have a deleted scene on a VHS.
Well, especially when the VHS was relevant, most movies were 2.5 hours long.
Do you know that thing where you'd record over a VHS and then erase half the movie?
Yeah.
So you've essentially made half the movie a deleted scene.
Ooh.
So
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I see what you did. So before we get into any of this, Dinkar, do you have anything else you would like to bring up? What's exciting you these days? Anything
in the world today?
Just in your life?
Not a lot. It's a fallow period, isn't it? There's this dip between summer and the year-end extravaganza for movies and whatnot. So there's that. What's exciting me is that I've been saving Stranger Things for a weekend binge.
You still haven't watched it?
I still have not.
Mother of Jeebus.
I don't know why. I just have not been able to get to it. There is so much stuff to watch. There's so much stuff on Netflix to watch.
I don't know.
Yeah, not a lot in terms of
movies. It's like they add stuff every day or something.
Yes.
Which I guess is good because...
The great thing is I managed to avoid spoilers entirely. Literally have... I don't even listen to our episode on Stranger Things.
Nice.
Just to avoid that.
I don't even listen to our show.
I don't even know what the show is
about. This show sucks. I don't listen to anything we say. But actually, speaking of, last week I was not able to be on the show, and we're actually recording...
Were you not?
Were you there? I wasn't there.
I was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know because I wasn't there.
I didn't notice. We didn't miss you at all.
I am a little scared because we're recording this episode before the previous episode has been released. So I haven't even heard last week's episode yet. So I don't know what nefarious antics y'all were up to and what incriminating things you might have or might not have said.
About
but you probably said. About life.
Well, you're going to find out, I suppose.
I'm not looking forward to it. Cool. So, do we have anything that we want to talk about from our lovely fans and listeners? Has anybody said anything? I think we had a tweet come in from Anuya, who's written to us before, and we asked about, well, the fact that we're going to be talking about director's cuts and deleted scenes, and is there any point to it at all? She said that the Suicide Squad deleted scenes, at least the stuff I read, made me feel a little better about the movie. Not a whole lot, but a little. Now, I'm a bit confused because I don't think that's been released yet, has it? Not that I know of.
The deleted scenes? No, I think that's why she said what I read.
Right.
Because maybe she's like heard, oh, wait, I know what she's talking about. You know that whole bunch of stuff that came out about the stuff they'd shot for Jared Leto's Joker? A bunch of scenes, a lot of which apparently showed him being a lot more abusive in his relationship with Harley. She's talking about that stuff, I think.
Ah.
Or
that would make sense.
She means the entire movie is a deleted scene. Where it's just a bonus that is there. So maybe she's sort of lulled herself into thinking, no, this is just like an hour and a half of deleted scenes. It's not very important. And that's why she feels a lot better about it.
That does make it taste better going down.
Yes. But I know what she's talking about. A bunch of articles came out with stills, and apparently all of this stuff was shot, but they just left it out post-test screenings, and once those trailers started doing really well and they decided the tone had to change, all this stuff was left out. So maybe there will be a director's cut of Suicide Squad as well.
How long was the movie to begin with? It wasn't too long, right?
I feel like it was in the 90-minute zone.
Yeah. No. Longer than that.
Longer than that?
At 2 hours? Hour 45?
Okay, I don't know. I watched 90 minutes of those 2 hours, so I literally fell asleep.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Did we see it together?
No.
Yeah, I forget. I'm trying to blank out that movie. That movie is coming up way too much in my life now. I feel like every single week, this movie comes up on this show. Did you guys talk about it last week? Today.
Suicide Squad? No, I think we avoided it.
Because I'm pretty sure that I have talked about, or I've been in the room and we've talked about this movie every week since we saw the movie.
It's an important movie. It's an important collection of deleted scenes.
It needs to die a very slow, painful death.
All right. Speaking of deleted scenes.
Did you have a point to make?
No.
Oh, well then.
I was hoping you would. This is where you continue.
God damn it. This is why we need men in. So, let's take a quick little break.
Yes.
We're going to come back and we're going to get into some of the scenes that I think actually did make a little bit of a difference, and some scenes that were just as pointless as the movies themselves, and some cuts that were longer but somehow, miraculously, managed to salvage some movies. Okay. It has been known to happen. We're going to take a little break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm May, and I'm a huge fan of the indie music scene in our country. A scene that's relatively underground, even though it sometimes speaks its head overground, but there's no shortage of talent, and I get the privilege of interviewing some of the most awesome musicians on my show. I've had the likes of Euphoria, Krish Kale, Hardcore, Randolph Correa. I've had singer-songwriters, folk singers, electronic music producers, playback singers, rappers, fusion artists, instrumentalists, classical musicians, and so on. Whether mainstream or not, these people have chosen to release their original music, and these are the people currently shaping the direction in which our music scene is heading. Join me on my show every Monday and tune in to discover the unique talent coming out of India today. You can catch Made in India on your favorite podcasting app or our very own IVM podcast app.
Hey, welcome back to the Geek Fruit Podcast. This is Dinkar. I have Jishnu with me, and we are talking about deleted scenes and the marketing of movies post their release, which deleted scenes play into.
Yep. And I'll be totally honest, I thought of this just last night because of the fact that Civil War came out, and with the release of Civil War, even prior to the Blu-ray release, which was today, on the day we're recording, today is the day that the Blu-ray comes out, the DVD version came out a few days ago. Today is when the deleted scenes are actually supposed to be released with the Blu-ray, but somehow, surprise, surprise, somebody found them all and uploaded them all to YouTube. So there's a full-blown 13-minute YouTube clip out there with all the deleted scenes and the gag reel and a whole bunch of other behind-the-scenes stuff, which is kind of cool and kind of fun. And I thought to myself, now, if you've heard the show before, you know that I can definitely speak for myself and say that I loved that movie. It's arguably my favorite in the MCU.
Yeah.
Maybe second only to Guardians. And I thought, wow, this movie really could not have been much better. And I saw some of the deleted scenes, and yeah, some of them were just, cool fluff and fun. There was a bit more action in the epic fight sequence, and that was kind of funny with some more one-liners. But there was one scene in particular that stood out to me, which I didn't really notice the lack of it when I watched the film the first 2 times. But now that I've seen the scene, I realized how much better this relationship could have been. And that is the relationship between Black Panther and Black Widow.
The two blacks.
The two blacks. In the movie, we see Widow meet Panther before the Accord Equip's terrorist attack happens, and we see them have a brief conversation right after the fact where he tells her, I don't care about the Avengers right now, I have my own agenda, I'm going to go and I'll do it myself. And she says, oh no, don't do that, not knowing that he's going to be a badass, and just like, oh no, man in a suit, don't go running off into the sunset all angry like that.
Yeah.
That's mean. Don't do that. And then next time they meet is when she shocks him in the face and lets Cap and Winter Soldier run away.
Yeah.
And that's about the only real interaction that they have.
Mm-hmm. It fleshes out that arc quite a bit more.
Yeah, this
just
particular...
that, one little 30-second snippet.
Exactly. This little deleted scene I'm talking about is after Panther and Cap and Falcon...
After that whole tunnel chase
After the tunnel chase, after they've been arrested... And they're at the...
so what happens, basically, I'll just run through the scene,
sure.
is Black's Widow and Panther are sitting in a room where Black Panther has been detained.
Yeah.
And she's telling him, well, see, I warned you, you got into, the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he says something along the lines of, I'm not too worried. And she says, I think you're being a bit naive. And then Michael Sheen comes in and says, well, congratulations, you've been extradited, you're free to go.
Yep.
And... Black Panther then gives this slam of comeback.
Essentially,
well, I guess I was being naive, huh?
Yeah,
and he drops the mic.
Just drops the mic.
Yeah, which is weird because he didn't have a mic in the previous scene.
He was on a wireless headset
I think
the previous time, and now he just shows up with an SM58. I was like, where did that come from?
How does that make any sense?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why they cut it.
Yeah.
Continuity problems.
Wouldn't it be great if just the boom mic falls? You just say a line and the boom operator's like, oh shit, somebody better drop a mic, and just boom mic just drops.
Do you think when they do a boom mic drop, you drop the mic and also go boom?
Thank you, we're here all day.
Yep.
So this was a really nice scene because, like we said, they only had a brief interaction before the explosion and a short one right after where he states his agenda. Next time they meet is on the battlefield, right? And Panther is such a badass, he doesn't give any Fs whatsoever, so much so that when he meets Hawkeye for the first time, mid-fight, Hawkeye's like, hey, by the way, I'm Clint, I should introduce myself. He's like, I don't care, I'm gonna cut you. And then just continues to fight. So I like the fact that this sort of gave us just a tiny bit more into that. Because if you think about it, it is kind of strange that while that giant fight sequence at the airport was really well choreographed and executed, you do have to question the fact that so many guys were flown in literally in the last minute. Ant-Man, Hawkeye, and even Vision just sort of comes in last second. It's okay, fine, enough's enough. And just on face value, they all have to be incredibly strong in their conviction as to whose side they're on, with little to no conversation prior to it. So, you have no idea why Hawkeye feels the way he does. You have no idea why Ant-Man feels the way he does. You just assume that they're oh yeah, Cap's a cool guy, I guess. I suppose outside with him. That's just sort of taken for granted. So this deleted scene did give me something more to a relationship that I already loved, so yay for that.
It also gives Michael Sheen 15 seconds more of screen time.
Martin Freeman.
Oh, Martin Freeman.
Yeah. But yes, it does, yeah.
I said Michael Sheen before that also.
You did, and I chose not to correct you.
Doing that. Why?
Who is Michael Sheen? Michael Sheen.
Is Charlie Sheen's dad.
No.
Yeah,
no.
Isn't he?
No.
That's Martin Sheen. Who's Michael Sheen? Oh, Michael Sheen's the Masters of Sex guy. Oh, that's why I'm confusing them. Because they look alike.
I need to see that.
Yeah.
I really need to get it. I have enough things to see. Anyway, it'll happen eventually, I'm sure. So, our brethren, Tejas, just sent us an email with his thoughts on the matter, which I have not read. Last time when we did an episode without you, Dinkar, was the Harry Potter episode in which you wrote in as well. And we chose not to read that beforehand. And have you read his email? Because I haven't read it.
I'm about to read it right now.
Well, please do. I hope it is not NSFW, as this is the W that we are in right now. Do you see what I just did?
I see what...
See what I did?
Yes. All right, moving on. So, Tejas says, here's some thoughts. Post Netflix and Batfleck, most have distanced their consciousness from Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Do you know what he's talking about? I don't know what he's talking about. No such movie exists as far as I'm concerned.
What? Post Netflix and... Wait. Most have distanced their consciousness from Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Okay, sure, yes.
So basically he's saying since there's a Netflix Daredevil...
we have chosen to forget about Ben Affleck.
Yes.
Yes, cool.
Which is good. A movie which gave us some interesting moments as well as our first live-action look at the character, but also Colin Farrell's Bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is still better than most people give it credit for, and a lot of it is made better with the director's cut.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of scenes in the movie start making more sense, and Kingpin's downfall is better structured.
Okay.
Are you aware of this director's cut of Daredevil?
I'm not aware of the director's cut, nor am I very much aware of the movie in itself. I may or may not have seen it. I have no recollection. I'm probably going to say I probably have not seen it then.
Really?
Because, I mean, I remember what it looked like, and this was like, what, 15 plus years ago? Right?
No, it wasn't that long ago.
Must have been.
Well,
It was not in the 2000s, right?
It wasn't the 2000s.
It wasn't the
Yes.
early 2000s.
Yes.
So about 15-ish. 10 to 15 years ago.
I probably... Okay,
Long enough that I have no... 2003, I think. Something like that. Long enough that I have no recollection
It was
of the movie.
post the Spider-Mans.
Sure.
Well, not all three. I think in between 1 and 2. Somewhere around then.
Sure.
Anyway,
Anywho.
I watched it and I've blotted it out of my memory. It
Yeah.
wasn't that great. So, alright, Tejas,
Cool.
we will take your word for that. Number 2. It goes without saying that the LOTR trilogy is the greatest extended cut series of all time for me. I can't even watch the regular ones anymore. You know who should have done that for their films instead of countless remasters? Star Friggin' Wars. That's in caps, which is why I placed emphasis.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I appreciate the effort.
Star Friggin' Wars, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that, I guess what we're talking about when we say deleted scenes is also how, we were talking about this yesterday as well, that with the release medium being the way it is now, it being digital, and because I can put out a change to a movie, and I know most people will still see it.
Yeah.
So movies can change after their release. Like, there's no definite end point.
Yeah.
Like Zack Snyder, for example. People now...
Is
when a
infamous
movie,
for,
Yeah, like a movie comes out and you're like, well, maybe it's better than the director's cut. Mainly
Right.
because of Watchmen, which
is
significantly
better.
improves because of the director's
Significantly
cut.
better. Yeah.
The BVS Ultimate Edition,
I
marginally better.
have not seen yet.
Doesn't change a lot.
Because I'm a little intimidated to sit through that again.
It is fairly intense.
Yeah.
It is like
Yeah.
so packed, and
Yeah.
plus you have to like trudge through it again.
I
But
know.
it works.
Sure.
It's slightly better than the original movie. So
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's popularized it now, but it's been around for a long time. Tejas also mentions Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And Blade Runner changed majorly in the director's cut.
Yeah. And I've only seen the director's cut. I've not seen the original.
I don't think anybody watches the
original
theatrical run anymore.
How much
because
longer is the director's cut?
It is not that much longer. It's an alternate ending, in fact.
Sure.
And I think the score changes significantly, so that like whole ending section with Vangelis's music. Vangelis's? Is that right? Vangelis created music.
We'll go with it.
Which was used.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was the theatrical print came out. Ridley Scott was left out of the final cut. It came out and he panned it. He was like, I don't want to be part of this. This is quite terrible. And the theater was like, all right, sorry, we will do what you want. And they didn't bring Ridley Scott back into the room. They just changed it to what they thought he wanted, which was better. And then that became the theatrical release. I think this happened like a solid year after the first run. The director's cut came out, which still wasn't really the director's cut. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the DVD came out, is when Ridley Scott was given like full control. He went in, he essentially cut the movie from scratch. And that is probably the version you've seen, and that's the version everyone looks at now. So like people have erased those first two versions from their memory. Yeah.
Wow. So what really got me thinking about deleted scenes so much is the fact that you really only see director's cuts and deleted scenes for things in the realm of the kind of stuff we talk about. You only see it, or at least the vast majority of these re-releases are in science fiction and in comic book movies.
Yeah.
And that begs the question, why? So you won't see, I highly doubt, you're going to see a director's cut of like a Tarantino movie. You're not going to see a director's cut of The Revenant. You're not going to see a director's cut of Birdman. You're not going to see a director's cut of any like properly critically acclaimed Oscar bait movie. You're not going to see him for any movie that is not in this sphere where there are a bunch of nerds who are like frothing at the mouth because they have such a high regard for the content material before the movie is even made. When they hear that, holy crap, we're getting a Punisher TV show, they lose their minds, right? Just on the notion and the idea of the fact that these pages are going to be turned into film. Now, when they made I don't know, Jane Austen into a movie, I'm sure there were literary nuts all over the world going like, oh, that's going to be interesting. But they weren't going, man, I really hope that they give me a director's cut so I can see like every nitty-gritty detail of every single page. You know what I mean? Because it's the exact same thing. It is previously created content that has been known and been around for eons, right? But it's only the comic book stuff and it's only the science fiction books that get this kind of...
People go back and actually change stuff.
And like, why is that? And does that mean that the original cut of these movies make them any lesser?
I don't know.
By virtue of the fact that there's another alternate version out there?
It's a tough question because what do you consider the definitive version of the movie?
Right.
Like, who takes that call? Is it the audience? Is it the director?
Yeah.
With Watchmen, for example, there's actually 3 cuts. There's the theatrical release, there's the director's cut, and there's the ultimate edition.
Oh, Jesus.
So the ultimate edition...
I don't even know which one I've seen then.
Did the one you watch have Tales of the Black Freighter in it? The animated interludes?
No.
Okay, so that's the director's cut.
Wow.
The ultimate edition.
Jesus.
So in the Watchmen, in the book, there's this whole section where this kid is at a newspaper stand and he's reading a pirate book because in the alternate universe of the Watchmen, pirates are their superheroes essentially. So everyone reads pirate comics, not pirate superheroes. But so there was this whole animated sequence which literally took that same story and translated. And it's a completely disconnected story. It just sort of vaguely parallels the narrative of the actual comic.
Sure.
And it's narrated by Gerard Butler in the movie.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's this horror pirate story about a guy who's stranded at sea. His entire crew is killed. He makes it back home, and then through a freakish turn of events, ends up murdering his own family because he thought they were the. It's a complicated.
Do you think it made it better?
I really liked it because I thought that story by itself was great in the book, and it didn't detract from the movie for me. But so when Zack Snyder was asked about this, and he was asked, "What do you think is the definitive version of the movie for you?"
Right.
And what he said was interesting because he didn't say like he created that whole Tales of the Black Freighter is what the animated section is called. It was released as a separate short, I think 15-minute movie on the home video release.
Sure.
And he said he doesn't consider the ultimate edition, which has that interwoven into the actual movie, as the best version of the movie. He thinks the director's cut
is
the one people should watch. And he was like, well, you can watch the ultimate edition. I'm sure like the comic book fans will like it.
Yeah.
But to me, the second version is really the ultimate version.
Sure. See, like to that end, I just feel like is there something about just overindulgence going on here? Like when I think arguably the director is the end all be all of the film. Right? I mean, the studios obviously tell him what to do. Producers give him limitations and boundaries and budgets to work within, timelines to work within. And we can only always, do as best we can within the constraints we're given. That being said, once you have the job assigned to you with the limitations and restrictions that are given, you, the director, or, if you have like duo team-ups like the Russos or, with Stranger Things, you have the Duffer Brothers, you have to do with whatever you're given. Now, I think just not a little bit too much that people of this genre are given this extra bonus round where they're like, hey, and you get a freebie of you can also release what you really wanted to release 6 months down the line, and that is what you can rest easy upon. Do you think that when Snyder sees the non-director's cut, like the theatrical release of his movies, when he watches it with the crowd and the crowds go yay or boo, he's thinking to himself, yes, but just you wait. In 6 months is when the real fun begins, because that's when you'll see what I really want you to see.
Yeah.
Or do you think is it not possible he's thinking, this is great, but I can't believe we're also going to release that other thing because I didn't want those to be out there.
Yeah.
There's no way to know like which one they would actually choose. And that is, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I want to see what the mastermind behind the film wants me to see.
Yes.
There are all these other factors that come into it, like budgets and timelines and this and that and all these kind of things. And that's all fair. But that exists in all movies. Regardless of genre, every movie has scenes that didn't make it. Every movie has pages that were cut, has lines that were changed, has casting changes, this and that, and all these whatnot. But we just don't know about them.
And we're not as concerned.
We're not as concerned. Like, I'm sure Birdman, which is like infamous for being one of the most sleekestly shot things, has a whole bunch of scenes that didn't make it because they weren't slick enough, or because the dialogue didn't work, or whatever the hell it was.
If there was a deleted scene from Birdman, it could only be one scene because it's all one take.
True.
Have you not seen the alternate version of Birdman?
What do you mean?
It's only like 45 seconds long, but basically like when that first shot starts, it like tracks straight down the hallway.
Yeah.
Then a dude trips in front of the camera. And then you hear like Inarritu's voice from behind going like, oh man.
The movie's ruined.
Yeah, it's ruined.
The movie is destroyed.
Shut it down.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
Back up. So yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, it irks me just like a little bit knowing that all these other movies that aren't in this realm don't get the privilege that these movies are gifted with, which is that like you get
a do-over.
You get 9 lives, man. You have the
Yeah.
one theatrical release, then you have your deleted scenes, then you have your blooper reel, then you have the this, and then you have your story art. You can release storyboards, you can release costume designs. One thing I cannot recommend enough to anybody that is specifically filmmakers out there, anybody that is that works or is interested in the production of film in any aspect. Check out The Hobbit's I think a 9-part BTS series that they released, which is all on YouTube, and it's amazing because it's a blog from Peter Jackson from the very start of the making of The Hobbit all the way through to the end, and it spans like 2 or 3 years or something, and it's incredible. It's like, and each episode is, I think, maybe, I don't even remember, like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. So it's several hours of BTS stuff, which is incredible, and they obviously have to blur out a whole bunch of stuff because it's in the middle of production, and that's really great. So like I love seeing those kind of things. I love seeing like the making of, and that's great because they're not giving anything away. They're just telling us how they made the stuff, but they're not making new stuff. They're not sort of like detracting from the finished product.
Yeah, you're getting a look behind the curtain.
You're getting a look behind the curtain, but there's not more of the show to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not showing you pages that weren't used and things like that.
Blooper reels are fun as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, well, they're just fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, those make sense. Those are always interesting. Mad Max, the entire behind-the-scenes feature is just stunning.
You've seen it without the CGI.
Yeah.
It's still
In fact, when they do those side-by-side comparisons, there are a couple of shots, like when the war rig flips over in the end, you realize it's actually better without the CGI, because in the theatrical version, there's this bit where that the Doof Warrior's guitar swings out right into your face and back again.
Yeah.
And when you look at it with that, when I watched it in the movie, I was like, okay, that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
But then when you watch it again, after having seen the actual way it was shot, you're like, why would you have to add that? It was already awesome.
Fair enough.
So, I don't know, I guess why it happens with sci-fi superhero movies in general is maybe the fans are more amenable to this kind of thing, where we're cool, like we're used to alternate universes, we're used to like storylines changing, we're used to like stuff being, retconned into like, oh, did you not know this was what happened all along? So we're kind of cool with it. So when Zack Snyder puts out a director's cut, he knows we're going to go watch it. And so maybe that's part of it.
Do you think we wouldn't watch a Tarantino director's cut or a Citizen Kane director's cut, like any other movie that is respected? Like, wouldn't you?
Have you not seen the director's cut of Citizen Kane? It's this weird thing where there's this deep focus shot and the guy in the background trips. And you hear Inarritu going from behind the camera like, oh my God, Orson is ruined. And it's weird because he was probably like 8 at the time. So why is he even on the set? But
was he alive at the time?
Who, Inarritu?
Yeah. How old is he? I have no idea how old he is.
I must be in his 40s. I'm guessing.
I'll tweet at him.
All right.
Hey Al, how old you at? How old you at? Okay, yeah, cool. That makes sense. Cool.
Is that also your pickup line?
How old you at?
Yeah.
Hey, I guess if it works, it works. I'm not going to argue with it.
I doubt it does.
On that note,
well,
should we take another break?
Yes.
Hello there, my name is Naveen Narona, and as a gay person in India, I get asked a lot of stupid questions.
Beta, is it LGBT or eligibility?
How do 2 men procreate?
Bro, is Grindr better than Tinder or what?
We answer all these questions and much more on my podcast, Keeping It Queer, where I talk to individuals from the LGBT community in India and learn about their personal stories. Catch all the episodes on the IVM podcast app or any other podcasting app you like. Till then, keep it queer.
Hey, we are back.
Hello. So we're talking about deleted scenes and changing stuff post the release of a movie. Basically, what we're coming to is that, especially for sci-fi, fantasy, superhero, nerdy movies especially, but stuff in general, there's no clear finish line where you go like, all right, this is it.
Yep.
Set in stone.
Yep.
Because back in the day, people used to write on stone. And those words would be set in stone. But now, since it's all ones and zeros, I guess you can just change stuff.
Yeah, what he said.
For example, what happens now a lot is right after the release of a movie,
Yep.
not just for promotion of the home video release, like we saw this with Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, they put out a deleted scene, 2 weeks after the movie came out?
Like, not even. I think it was like the weekend after.
That is ridiculous. Like, why would you do that?
And it was a pivotal scene.
Yeah.
Seeing, what's his face?
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf, yeah.
I think because, okay, it looks like Steppenwolf,
Yeah.
but the entire movie
Yeah.
is hinting towards Darkseid and
Right.
like, with the parody wins and
Right,
whatnot, and
right.
that like desertish scene. So that it just left fans more confused.
Yeah.
And I think Warner thought, let's put out this scene and people go like, hey, there's more to this movie. But
Yeah.
really, we just went like, come on, like you're
Yeah.
just you're digging yourself into a deeper hole.
Exactly.
So there's that.
And speaking of this whole confusing thing that they're doing, where we're not sure exactly what the end game is and why they wanted to do it and why they did it the way they did it, in that same franchise, in the same universe, Ben Affleck tweeting out the reveal of Deathstroke. And the way it was done was so bizarre. Did you
Really?
did you
What?
see the tweet exactly the way it was?
No, I
It
did
was just a video. It was from Ben Affleck's account, right? And it is literally a cell phone video of him filming a screen. Now, we don't know if it's like a monitor on set. We don't know if it's like on the edit bay. We don't know
Okay.
where it is. We don't know why it is. And we don't even know. See, now we know that it's Joe Manganiello. We know that he's cast as Deathstroke, so yeah, that's been done. But at the time, we just saw a dude in a Deathstroke costume that could have been freaking cosplay for all we knew.
Yeah.
And there was no context given whatsoever. All we had to go off of was that Ben Affleck, who we all know is officially Batman and who's directing his own Batman movie, is in the middle of filming the Justice League and all that stuff, just tweeted out a random video of a dude dressed up as Deathstroke. What am I supposed to do with that?
Okay.
That is all we were given. And then, of course, nothing but rumors and speculation and yada yada. So it's clearly one of two things. Probably, very likely, a very smart marketing move on their part, being like, hey, let's just mess with people and like create some buzz around this. And eventually, when we announce Joe Manganiello as the guy, people will have built up a lot of suspense, and then that'll make it that much bigger of a reveal.
Yeah.
Either that, or what I would have liked for it to have been is Ben Affleck just being like, he, I'm just going to be right here in the corner of set and just film this on my phone, and I won't tell anybody. I'm going to tweet it right now and just let Snyder deal with the fallout. Wouldn't that be amusing?
That would be.
But that's probably not what happened, although I really wish it was.
That seems like a Ryan Reynolds thing to do.
That would have been great.
So,
That would have been
it's
amazing.
pretty much a given. Like we've all assumed, and he hasn't really denied it very vehemently, that he's the guy who leaked the script and
Right.
the test footage.
Absolutely,
out
yeah,
to
there's
people.
no doubt.
Not the script, sorry, just the test footage.
Yeah, there's no doubt of it.
Yeah.
And also, on that note, speaking of Deadpool, he was the best part. His cameo was the best part of his Honest Trailers
Yeah.
parody, right?
Yes.
And that's where he announced the DVD stuff with
So that
with his
was
deleted
just,
scenes
like,
and all the, or
yeah.
not deleted scenes. What did he announce? He announced something. He announced the
Blu-ray.
just the release date, I guess.
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But so he sort of broke that fourth wall one step further by appearing in somebody else's thing, right? And that is, I feel like, a weird cousin of the sort of like, he's not backpedaling like BVS did with the Steppenwolf thing, but he's sort of like doing the whole, let me build on what I've already established with the movie and break those boundaries and those limitations of like, you only see me for these 90 minutes or 2 hours.
Yeah.
I can now, just because I can, I'm going to appear on anything and everything else.
I guess you can. It's also a lot easier because of like the construct of a character like Deadpool,
Yeah,
who's
exactly.
supposed to be talking to you
Specifically
directly,
with Deadpool,
which
it
is why
works.
the marketing up to the movie worked so well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when he appeared in like the Honest trailer for Deadpool,
Yeah.
it just like it fits perfectly. Like that's what
Yeah.
you'd expect Deadpool to do.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, for some reason, like my mind, when I think of that example, goes to when you see, since the Emmys are coming up, I really enjoy seeing like the opening sketches and the opening songs
Yeah.
or whatever of the
Who's
different
hosting
awards
this
show.
time?
Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, okay.
I gotta admit, without question, my least favorite late night host, but that's
Yeah.
a whole other topic.
Because he blocks his videos in India.
I
What
know.
is up with that?
I know.
Come on.
Jeebus. And I hate that he's ABC, so he's got my like entire ABC Shield
Yeah,
family,
like, he
and I
gets the
can't see
Marvel
any of
guys
that.
on
I'm like,
and,
damn you. Anyway, but what I'm getting at is, so like with, I think it was like 2 years ago, for an Emmys ad, the two guys from Breaking Bad, Walter White and Jesse, were on a little sketch with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and they basically played a version of themselves where they were like pawn shop owners.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
yes.
that was really funny because they were like playing up with that, and that was.
Yeah.
But when you watch that, you're not thinking to yourself, "Hey, that is Heisenberg and that is Jesse Pinkman." You're just like, you know that this is the actor just having fun with it. But then when you watch Deadpool in an honest trailer, yes, you know it. Obviously, it's Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool, but you are thinking of it in a different context as that is Deadpool being Deadpool.
Yeah.
This is this character that is larger than life and sort of doesn't give a damn about any of these constructs of like, the movie's over, boom, you're done. You will never see me again until the next sequel, which is kind of exciting, I guess.
I guess so.
And
Speaking
he's-
of
yeah.
Deadpool
Yes.
and fun stuff post-movie, the X-Men Apocalypse scene, which just came out, is like a pretty great addition. In fact, I really think it should have been in the movie. It's
Probably
just
my
like
favorite
3.5
deleted scene I've
minutes of
seen in a long
solid
time.
fun.
Yeah.
It features all the kids basically. I think this would have come in right after they decide to
Go to the mall.
nab the car and go to the mall.
Yeah.
They actually had shot that entire sequence, which features a lot more
Yeah.
of Jubilee. It
Yeah.
has them like playing games in the
Yeah.
arcade and whatnot, and it's just like a fun, very 80s vibe
So
throwback
good.
thingy.
So good.
So good.
And if you heard our episode, we reviewed the movie several months ago whenever it came out, and in the lead up to the movie as well, we talked about how excited we were because there was a rumor, which has now been confirmed thanks to this deleted scene, that there might have been an appearance of Dazzler, who at the time, there was a lot of speculation, was going to be played by Taylor Swift, which would have been hilarious and amazing and just fun in all the right ways. And so we were really excited to see that. And so when we saw the movie and they said, hey guys, we're going to steal a car and go to the mall, we were like, this is it. It's going to happen. And then it just cuts to like them leaving the mall.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what the hell? So I'm really glad that this deleted scene sort of brought that to fruition. But again, this is the whole thing of, I only really loved this scene. Oh, not I only really loved, but I loved the scene that much more simply because of the fact that I was savvy to, set photo leaks of the kids in the mall holding up a Dazzler record and things like that. And so I'd already had this built up excitement for it, which,
Yeah.
if this were any other movie, like let's take any Oscar bait movie, let's take The Revenant, for example, I didn't know anything about the movie before I saw it, I wouldn't have been as excited about a deleted scene because I didn't have context for it. When I saw that this is, hey, deleted scene, kids in the mall, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I was hoping to see in the freaking movie. I'm only getting this 6 months later, but at least I'm getting it. So that's some form of backpedaling that I think definitely worked because I did not like that movie at all. If you listen to that podcast, it's about basically an hour of me and they just saying, why, oh God, why?
Yeah.
And this one scene kind of undoes a little bit of that, I
But it
suppose.
doesn't change your opinion of the movie, I suppose.
Exactly. It doesn't change my opinion of the movie.
Yeah.
It just makes me happy to know that
All is not lost.
somewhere on the cutting floor, there was a bit of gold that they just...
Sometimes there isn't. Like Days of Future Past, the Rogue cut. Have you seen that?
I've not. I've heard a lot about it. They just
It
mentioned
features a lot more of
Rogue.
the original trilogy Rogue.
Right.
Yes. Of
this. Doing what, exactly?
she's around. It really doesn't add a lot. It's basically like the same thing. So that framing device of all these guys hanging out in the future and having sent back Wolvie and gang to save them in the past. There's just more of the framing device, basically.
Sure.
So it's not great. It doesn't add a lot. So I don't even know why it exists. I think basically because they paid Anna Paquin, who plays Rogue, somewhere upwards of like $2 million to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And then in the actual cut, they used her for like 5 minutes. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah.
we have wasted so much money.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So maybe that's why they did it. Because it's really, I watched it and it doesn't even feel any different from the actual movie. It just feels a little bit longer. Wolverine, the Asian Wolverine, what is it? That's just Wolverine, right? Or is it the Wolverine?
The Wolverine, yeah.
Well, that apparently has this little Easter egg deleted scene towards the end where Logan is presented with the actual yellow, big-eyed Wolverine suit.
Oh, right.
Yes, as a
What?
reward, which they took out later. So,
Oh,
well,
but
that's
so
a shame.
has this scene been released? Have people seen this scene?
I
Or is it just
believe
hearsay?
it's- I've seen stills of it, so I'm guessing it's
Oh.
on the home video release.
Oh,
But it's
really?
not canon because they cut it out.
Ah. Damn.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we're all like crossing our fingers really tight for this
Perhaps
last one
it will
to have
happen in the last
That
one.
is, yeah.
Though they're saying it's based off of Old Man Logan, so
it.
that's...
Yes, I mean, that's fine. I don't mind if he's old and wearing the suit, just so long as he wears the suit. That's all I really want. So, really quick, a little thing we were just talking about during the break was sort of how we, as nerds who have nothing better to do than like just indulge to endless degrees about all this kind of stuff, we kind of academize our knowledge of these characters and their storylines and their plot points and whatnot, and we know, or we claim to know, every little insignificant detail about everything that makes these universes. And you said before, how we're so used to like having all these different parallel universes going on all the time.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, kind of like you said with the ones and zeros thing, now because technology is the way it is, you can shoot 10 hours of a movie and only put out 90 minutes and then have that 8.5 hours or 7.5 hours, I can't do maths, whatever amount of time left over that you can then slowly churn out over time because it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Maybe 50, 60 years ago, film was expensive. You couldn't do that. But one point I'd like to bring up that you mentioned was speaking sort of like with how Shakespeare has been done more times than we can count, right?
Yeah.
Now, you study Shakespeare as a kid and you can go up to PhD levels and build your entire career and your entire life, your entire working life, talking about one man's body of work, which is a very finite body of work. But hundreds of thousands of people know every single word that he's ever done. But when a movie adaptation or a TV adaptation is made on it, they don't indulge in, well, here's a deleted scene where we bring out more of Hamlet's character and like we really get to know about Lady Macbeth. We don't do that. But we do that with comic books.
Yeah.
And do you think
we don't with comic books, really. It's movies specifically, I think, in fact. Because, again, once a comic book is printed, unless, well, I suppose...
Well, I mean, movie adaptations of comic books.
You might be right. We might do it with comic books also because there's always, like, the retconning that happens when someone else takes over the story.
Exactly.
Yeah,
now,
okay.
do you think there's anything there that is essentially... How do I put it? It's sort of an embodiment of our frustration when we're in school, let's be honest. How many of us genuinely enjoyed reading Shakespeare when we were like 11 years old and were first introduced it? When we could go home and read about Wolverine.
Yeah.
So it's like your homework is you either read The Merchant of Venice or you read X-Men issue number 7 or whatever it is. One of them is going to go down a lot easier for a kid. And as a kid, you want to know more about these characters. And so when the movies eventually come out, you get really excited that there's more to these characters. And The Merchant of Venice, let's say, you're going to be studying for the foreseeable future while you're in school and maybe even in college if that's what you choose. So there's no end to how much of, I'm using Shakespeare as one example. There's so many other literary authors you can talk about. Is this just sort of our frustration being vented of the fact that we can, so we will, because we've always wanted to, and now technology allows us to just keep filming more, keep churning out more stuff, and just indulge in what we love to do?
Maybe. So here's the thing. So Shakespeare is a long time in the past now. He's like, he wrote his stuff well over like 5-6 years ago as far as I know. Like a little in the past. So maybe like since there's been time and like the dust has settled on those shelves.
Actually, I think it's his 400th year anniversary.
Are you serious?
It's his something 100th year anniversary.
Of what? Birth, death?
I don't keep track.
Okay, well,
something.
Happy anniversary, Shakespeare. We sent you out a card. Do reply.
Yeah.
So maybe since so much time has passed, we've been able to settle on one version of the story because it's entirely possible, especially because he wrote plays. I don't know if you know that. He wrote plays.
Oh, right. Okay.
So because of that, there must have been like rehearsal scripts and like he must have been like looking at actors on stage and going like, what is wrong with me? Why did I write that?
Yeah.
And chopping stuff out. It's possible. I don't know.
Probably.
I'm not a Shakespeare scholar.
Yeah.
But works of art do tend to change sometimes, I suppose. So possibly, because so much time has passed, much like we look at Blade Runner and only think of the director's cut now.
Right.
I'm guessing back in the 80s when it came out, people were like, wait, there's like 3 versions of this movie, what's going on?
Right.
Because they weren't even used to that.
Right.
So maybe with time, we all settle on one particular version of the movie. For example, Watchmen, I already always think of just the director's cut when I think of it.
Yep.
Much like with Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe that's one factor. And secondly, why I think sci-fi and this stuff in general is more likely to change post-release is because here the fans are a lot more involved. And the entire process of creation is really like this...
It's like a communal
thing. Because when Zack Snyder is making Watchmen, he's also really just a fan who got a cool job.
Yeah.
And we're just as involved in that process, which is why we're so... sci-fi especially, you're always concerned about what's happening during the shoot and stuff. You're looking out for like what they're putting into the movie and whatnot. Whereas with a Tarantino film, say, or like a Inarritu film, it's supposed to be very singularly about that one man's vision.
Right.
And you could have a lot of opinions. So maybe you see like set leaked pictures from Birdman and go like, oh my god, the bird costume's all wrong. And Inarritu is entirely right to say like, he's my bird.
Yeah, screw you.
Step off.
Yeah. You didn't earn the spot of the director, I did, so I get to say what happens.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
And maybe that doesn't feel like as much of a right for superhero movies and the like, where you're working with characters that everyone feels like they have a certain right over.
And is that only because these characters are pre-existing?
Possibly.
But
I'm guessing, but this is a theory.
Sure. Because, we all have read, like, say, Dickens novels, and we've all seen, a bunch of different versions of Oliver, for example, right? But then if somebody were to, I'm sure it's eventually going to happen, they'll put out another version of Oliver. It's bound to happen.
Yeah, with a twist at the end.
With a twist at the end.
Yeah.
And we're just going to be like, okay, cool, here's another version of Oliver. There are people that dedicate their entire lives to being Dickensian, specialists and people who commit all the time in the world to like analyzing one man's body of work. But they're not going to get up in arms about it. And if they do, the studio's not going to be like,
Because again, maybe because we see it as the definitive end. Maybe, here's another theory, the reason we have so many versions of Oliver is that a version comes out and then the fans and like the scholars who are studying it go like, please sir, can I have some more? And someone goes like, all right, I'll put out another version of Oliver, I guess.
You were just waiting to make that joke.
Yeah, I was thinking about it for a while.
You were thinking about it for a while.
Literary references on the Geek Fruit podcast. What is wrong with us? We have discussed Shakespeare
when
and
Tejas
Dickens.
is away, this is what we talk about. Clearly.
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
High society conversation.
On that note, similarly, you have J.K. Rowling, right? Who she was the one that brought up the Dumbledore's gay stuff, right? Did she offer that information, or was that like a fan theory?
I believe it wasn't a fan theory. It came up in some sort of Q&A, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Where she said, oh, yeah, wait, hold on. Did you not know he was gay? Because he was totally gay, is how...
Right.
She didn't phrase it like that exactly.
But that's...
Because she said it in a British accent. But otherwise, exactly the same.
So she volunteers this information, right?
Yes.
And there was you mentioned there was another theory
just
about...
Just now, I think just a few days ago, perhaps a week ago, she talked about Lupin and his werewolfism being an allegory for AIDS. And
how so?
Because basically he's shunned as an outcast because of something he can't really control.
Right.
And
okay.
it's like just HIV patients in general are like dismissed as werewolves are. So this is, though that's been a fan theory for a while, not really a theory, but it's been an interpretation.
Yeah,
and she
the outsider
confirmed
card.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
So that doesn't change anything significantly.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, she's been, I guess, just because she's such a high-profile author and she does so many of these talks and signings and whatnot, she talks a lot about the books post the fact. For example, she talked about how she regretted using time turners in book 3, and that's why she abandoned that concept and never went back to it. Yeah. She talked a bunch about how...
Except for when she wrote a 2-part play all about
exactly. So I'm guessing when she did that, she didn't know that she'd be writing a 2-part play that involved time turners so heavily.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a weird space to be in, I suppose.
So I guess it begs the question to all of you people out there: have you seen any deleted scenes or any director's cuts that you think significantly bettered a film? Please write into us, because we would love to get recommendations on that.
You know what else?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, people write in and whatnot, but I just thought of this. Comedies have a lot of deleted scenes. Like the Judd Apatow School of Filmmaking and those type of guys.
Yeah.
There are like entire movies worth of Anchorman, for example.
Absolutely.
There's a whole other movie called Anchorman: The Lost Cut.
Yes, I've seen that.
It's called.
Yeah.
The Lost Movie, something like that, which is basically just constructed out of a bunch of those deleted scenes because they shoot so much.
But that's I think very much a product of the times we're in, which is the technology that we use, because the fact we don't...
I think Judd Apatow shoots on film, actually.
Does he?
He just can afford to shoot a lot, I suppose.
Well, maybe he can. Okay. Well, it's because the fact that the Judd Apatow School of Comedy is all about improv. Right?
It's very loosely scripted.
So I'm sure he just writes like, here's what is the end game or the end result of the scene. These two people meet, and by the end of it, one of them has to die.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how they do it.
And so, if you're going to just film hours and only end up using 30 seconds, you might as well put out the other several minutes of film that you have.
Yeah.
Because also his movies other than like the Anchorman movie, which has now a sequel, they're their own like standalone like little story, and it's basically a bunch of friends who are amazing at what they do, having a great time.
So Judd Apatow deleted scenes are basically blooper reels, except everyone stays in character.
Pretty
That's
much.
The only thing.
That is exactly
because
it.
their characters are basically themselves most of the time.
I mean, watching a Judd Apatow movie and looking at his deleted scenes and his blooper reel kind of feels like, I don't know, it's I can equate it to sort of like listening to an album from a band that you love and then hearing the B-sides or like the unmixed, the demos, the session takes where you can hear them writing the stuff, or you can hear like the unused phrases and ideas. It's the same thing. It's like, this is just basically what we did, and the finished product, quote unquote, is just a nicely packaged version of this nonsense.
Which brings me to Kanye West and his album. He's Kanye West is a genius. Yeah. And if you disagree, please do not write in, because, well, I firmly believe that. But he's done something that you don't really see in music a lot, which is put out an album and then like literally just pull stuff out of it and put stuff back in. So like there was a track called Wolves, and there's been like 5 versions of it, and they're all the final version, because he put out the entire album, he released it on Tidal. Then like 3 weeks or like a few days later, he tweets like, I'm gonna work on Wolves a little bit, pulled it off the album. 5 days later, he put out a new mix. And sometimes the changes are significant. Like, he drops entire verses from artists. Like, the final version, for example, doesn't have this whole verse by Sia. And I suppose he can afford to do that. But, so, that's the final version of his album. But as far as I know, it's still not done. So, again, because it's all ones and zeros. If he was putting it out on vinyl, he can't, like, come to your house and go, like, yo, I'm just going to make a couple of changes, give me that back. But he can afford to do that now because he's on a streaming service, I guess.
Right.
So it's interesting. So they're like, and he's entirely within his rights to do it, I suppose.
Because Kanye is very much is forward thinking a stretch to say? I mean, like, he's very much.
I think he's very way ahead of his time.
Yeah, he's definitely really ambitious and out there and wants to like really milk all the technology for what it's worth. And his inverse, I think, his direct inverse is somebody like Jack White, who will record an album or will record a song on vinyl live immediatly and
it's
press
about being in
like
that
he broke the Guinness book. He made a Guinness World Record of like the fastest
record,
printed vinyl, right? So like
I think from recording to sale, the shortest
in like less than an hour or something like that. Yeah, so you can do it really whichever way you want. There's no right or wrong way, I suppose. And I guess in a nutshell, that is the same sentiment to the films that we're talking about. It's like, do whatever you want to do and roll the dice. Hope that your audience will buy into all the director's cuts and all the deleted scenes you do. And I guess Marvel and all these comic book movies have 50, 70 plus years of fan following to back them up. So really, most bets that they make are pretty safe. You can make a movie like BVS that people pretty much give thumbs down unanimously to, and we will still go and see your sequels. So I guess if you want to make deleted scenes and release, director's cuts, well, I guess we'll still see them, even if we didn't like the original.
I guess so.
So, cool. I guess this is not going to stop anytime soon, is it?
No.
There's no end to it.
Perhaps we should.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll save some of the stuff for the ultimate edition of this episode.
Hey.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
On that note, please write into us at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. You can click on the contact link on our website at geekfruit.in. You can reach us on all of the social medias at geekfruithq. Is that all? Oh, Dinkar, you want to give them your number?
Yes. My number is 8.
Call him at 8.
I am the 8th person, actually, who was given a phone number. I don't know if you know this. You know when you call me, it's just like you hit 8, right? I guess this also goes into the deleted scenes of this episode. We will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye, you nerds. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. If you have some time, you should also check out The Seen and the Unseen, which is a podcast hosted by writer Amit Verma, who takes a close look at the seen and the unseen aspects of various government policies.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.